Hello, good afternoon. Michael Wynn, Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. Thanks for joining in today on the video podcast series where we talk about digital marketing tactics and strategies to help grow your business. Today is going to be a little bit different than some of the other episodes that I've done before. Today, I'm truly inspired by a phenomenon that I see is an epidemic in today's society, and that is the evidence of the wounded creatives. I come across so many people in my path day after day who were creative from day one when they were, a little boy or a little girl, and they enjoyed, doing whatever it was that was their creative outlet. But somewhere along the way, someone told them that it was a stupid idea and that it was not worth their time. I can remember my own story, thinking back to wanting to be a commercial artist is what I remember when I was growing up, and I didn't even really know what it was, but I knew that it was about creating things and helping people tell their story about what it was about their brand. I mean, I remember that from the very earliest age, and I knew that I was always really good at drawing. I loved to draw and paint, and I would spend hours. I would have my friends over. I was like, let's sit down at the table and draw. And we would draw, Star Wars episodes, and we would draw, GI Joe figures and wars. And so, while other friends and I, of course, I played with those toys, but I also enjoyed, telling the story and scribbling it out. I remember. I used to love to draw semi trucks, 18-wheelers. I don't know what it was about those, Peterbilt and Kentworth. Like, man, I would draw those and spend hours doing that. Somewhere along the way, someone told me that I was not going to be able to make very much money doing that. And I'm pretty sure it was a family member that did it. And I think that I run into that often. I run into people who at some point in their life were creatives, whether they were creative storytellers, whether they were creative with their hands in painting or crafting or making things. And somewhere along the way, they were wounded and they stopped. And so today, I want to talk about publishing ruthlessly, the magical elixir of the wounded creative. Because I really do think, and for those of you who have followed my videos and the podcast series, I mean, you can ask anyone in my office or someone who knows me, like in the last year, things have just really transformed, and things are the momentum has just really blown up. And so I continue to find energy and inspiration by people saying, oh man, I listened to the podcast, or I watched your video the other day, and it made me think about I want to start journaling, or it made me think about I want to start this video, or and so while yes, this episode and these little vignettes are about digital marketing, that happens to be the vehicle by which I am able to exercise my creativity every day and explore these ideas that I find exciting, that really are the ultimate, getting to a place where I no longer have to work. I actually just get to do what I love every day, and then I get to share it with people and hopefully inspire them to do it the same day. Because I think there's this huge disconnect. I think that there is a fundamental disconnect between this idea of having some, large, salary compensation with, all the things that come with that. If it's just for the sake of that, right? If there's not this intrinsic value of being, who you are, and being able to express yourself in such a way that, is creative and fulfilling, just how your DNA is made up. So, I think that is another reason why we see more and more people gravitating away from, corporate America and this corporate structure where, those people are seeing a revival in what's called the gig economy. We mean, we've talked about that on the show before, about how in 2020, 46% of the labor force will be powered by the gig economy. And it's because people are tired of being told what to do and how to do it in that corporate environment, and settling for living paycheck to paycheck, when they can make better use of themselves and be being truer to their core values, and really be able to experience a life that is full and is meaningful and purposeful. I came across an article today, or no, it was a friend of mine mentioned to me about Ed Sheeran, and the fact that Ed Sheeran said, it was an interview from Mirror in the UK, and he was talking about his album that he did, and looking back how popular it was, and the interviewer was asking, like, how did you come up with the songs? And he said, the interesting thing is I didn't write the album in one sitting. He said, my normal practice is I write 4 to 5 songs a day. 4 to 5 songs a day. So, I mean, do the math, right? 4 or 5 songs a day times 365 means that he's producing and writing and creating like 1,500 songs in a year. And surely out of 1,500 songs in a year, there's going to be 12 that are like amazing, right? When you have all of that creative that's going to come out, it's going to really be something special, because he continues to work and to craft and to publish ruthlessly. Now, many of those titles don't go out there, and but they're being recorded, and he's capturing those. And I think that when it comes to this process of exercising your creativity, and how do you find that magical elixir that can help heal the wounded creative, I really do think that we live in a day and age where the internet is your friend, it is your canvas, and it's time to start publishing ruthlessly. So I don't care if you're a photographer or a writer or videographer or builder. If you are a creative and you enjoy making things, today is the day to decide to not listen to the voices that said you can't, but start listening to that internal voice that says go for it. Because the fact of the matter is, we're all just one piece of creative away from, literally connecting with, this just magnificent connection with the rest of the world. And I do think too, I want to give credit where credit is due. Publishing ruthlessly is definitely not my own coin. I came across that in the E-Myth book, which is a popular book, and it's been written for several different industries. But that's kind of where I saw that coin, and it really connected with me today. And the two things that I thought about was, in the section of the book, he talks about, willing to fail 50% of the time. And I think that as creatives and as professionals, we are so afraid to fail. We're so afraid to, put something out there that is not going to be accepted, or, people are going to look a little sideways, right? I mean, obviously we're professionals, and so we're going to put out professional work, but, at the same time, I think that there is a much wider opportunity to produce and to publish relentlessly. I think, Gary Vaynerchuk said it true, like, if you're not producing between 50 and 100 pieces of content a day on the internet, for your brand, you're missing the depth and the width and the expansiveness of the internet, because man, once it's on the web, it is there forever. And so I think that for organizations and individuals who are responsible for creativity within their sort of segment, this is a time to really look for and practice publishing ruthlessly. Because I think what we've learned, and I've had clients tell us the same thing, we deploy these digital creative campaigns at scale where we're producing literally hundreds and up to 1,000 pieces of creative over a year as we go through and we're executing these digital campaigns. And what ends up happening is that in the beginning it's slow going, because no one's used to this kind of tempo. No one's used to this kind of volume. But what ends up happening is, as we are committed to, being able to tell the story authentically and with passion, and communicate the core values of the brand, not only do new consumers, new customers, or new members come and find this brand and connect with it because of the connection on the emotional level, like we talked about in yesterday's episode, but they also connect with potential staff and team members and people who want to be a part of something that has the same core values that that they do. And I think that is something that is becoming more and more relevant. I mean, I read an article on LinkedIn today about this idea that there are middle turns or many. Basically, it's like middle-aged people are going into internships, right? Because they're in their 30s. It's the kind of the top end of the millennial generation, and they're really not happy with the career path that they're in, and so they're leaving those jobs. They're going to intern to learn a new skill, to learn a new career path, because they're not happy. They're not being true to themselves. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like 30,000 people are reading this episode or this article on LinkedIn. And I just think it goes back to the idea that there are the walking wounded creatives out there who have decided, I'm going to be a doctor or a lawyer because their parents told them this is what they should be, because they can make a good living, but they're not really being true to themselves. And so it's very difficult to even think about publishing ruthlessly, if you're really being a charlatan when it comes to who you were meant to be, and really being able to feel comfortable in your own skin and not worry about the people who say you can't, or that seems foolish. So so I think at the end of the day, what this episode really kind of boils down to is I just want to encourage, for those of you who've listened to the show over the last few months, today is a special episode. Just I want to encourage you guys to you've listened, and you said, one day I'm going to do this. Well, I hope today is that day. I hope today is the day that you decide, what, I'm going to stop relying on the status quo that's gotten our business this far, and I'm going to start putting my creative efforts forward, and I'm going to let go. I'm going to stop being the hoarder of all the knowledge of how the business got where it is. I'm going to stop hoarding that, and I'm going to start empowering. I'm going to start creating this knowledge transfer for my staff and my team who are around me, so that they can then be empowered to be their best, right? So I want to just kind of leave you guys with that thought, and hope that all of us, will have the courage, like Ed Sheeran, to get out and practice your creativity every day and publish it ruthlessly, because any one of us is one piece of creative away. Any one of us has the ability, whether we're marketers or owners, business owners, executive directors, vice presidents, or department managers, whatever your title is, don't underestimate the power of the social web and the power of publishing ruthlessly the things that you are passionate about, and then follow that wherever it may lead. Guys, thanks for tuning in today. My name is Michael Wynn. I am the Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. I hope you guys have a great day and tune in tomorrow.